right, to be beside the seaside. 7 Seas of Rye. It's 27 minutes past 11. Radio 1 talking to Freddie Mercury. Now, that was Queen's first single from 1974, and I wondered at this point, looking back on those early days of Queen, the group was a contemporary, of Gary Glitter, of Bowie, of what's become known as glam rock. In those days, Freddie was wearing Sandra Rhodes frocks, and it seemed there was a real effort to put on, in inverted commas, a show. And I wondered if that was a deliberate attempt on Queen's part.
Yes, those were the days. It's like I can actually sort of parallel that to sort of, in a way, to something that's going on even now. I mean, okay, when, say, like Boy George, you see, it was sort of, you're talking about flamboyance and things like that. And I think every era or whatever is always going to have a little bit of that, It's like, and I remember in those days it was Queen and David Bowie and Roxy Music, and we were all sort of in that thing. We were trying to put across theatre because things like that, because there was a lot of. I remember before us was like Eric Clapton and all that. It was all the blues stuff, and people would just play that, go on there with their jeans and all that, and there had to be a sort of a kind of a backlash, the same way as the Sex Pistols did that to sort of establishment. And so, in a funny way, glam rock with paint and makeup and lots of theatre was a kind of backlash to what was happening before, to be acknowledged, to be accepted.
But it wasn't tacky, and a lot of it was tacky at that time.
Oh yes, I mean, the moment something catches on, you're going to get everybody jumping on the bandwagon, and then what happens is that you have to sift the crop, and the talent, the creme de la creme will actually come across. You'll always get that. I mean, how many punk bands sort of jumped on the bandwagon saying that they were all into all that, but I mean, they were just trying to be accepted, and you'll get that anyway. So I mean, earlier on, as I was saying, I think I was doing virtually very similar stuff to say what Boy George is doing, but I think it's much harder for him now, because I mean, shock value and being outrageous is, it takes more to outrage people now, because
was that what you were trying to do?
Oh yes, in terms of shock, outrage, and being accepted. That's the way you just and the music was there as well. But I think music is not enough. I mean, you say talent will out, but I mean, these days talent consists of more than just being able to write a good song. I mean, you have to deliver it, you have to sort of package it, and you have to be there at the right time, and just you have to sort of take in all these ingredients, I think.
She keeps them always chandel in a pretty cabinet. Bethany cakes, she says, just like Marie Antoinette.
Freddie Mercury is our private, shy, retiring individual. And Freddie Mercury, who is self-confessed, loud, arrogant, and forthcoming, the public performer. So the next subject we got onto was videos, and I wondered whether videos had played an important part in reinforcing that image of Freddie Mercury.
If you're talking about videos, I might as well. It's big business now anyway, and it's a very good way of showcasing yourself. But there are moments that, in videos where I think the buy can be misguided, because I remember the times when if you like a piece of music, you go out and buy it, and you sort of conjure up a thing for yourself, and you think, oh, that's the kind of emotion or whatever he's putting up. So I mean, each individual can create his own feeling from that song. But the moment you make a video, they see it and they say, oh my God, I take it that's the way he wants to put it across. So I mean, it really narrows you down, and sometimes I like to sort of lose myself in videos and make it as free as possible, so that there are lots of elements, especially when a song is very emotional and it's got to do with a love song. In fact, only the other day somebody came up to me and told me exactly that. He said, I'd had a preconceived idea of what I thought you were telling me in the song, but when I saw your video, I knew I was totally wrong. You see,
which was the song?
It was I Was Born to Love You. You see, but he just said that he'd lost all the total meaning of what I was trying to say. But there you go.
Were you disappointed with that? I mean, were you upset?
No, I wasn't upset. I mean, the reason I'm talking about this is I'm saying that there'll always be some people who are going to be disillusioned by the fact that that the video is not cohesive with the song in terms of what they wanted to see.
Can I go back to the first promotional film, which was, I mean, historic in the sense that you established something in the idea of the video. A, where did the idea come from? B, who the hell put the money up?
What, our first one? Our first one was Bohemian Rhapsody.
It must have cost a fortune.
You're going to be very surprised. It cost between £3,000 and £5,000.
All right, I'm not asking you to be pompous now, but were you aware at the time that you were really setting a standard?
No way. I mean, we didn't think that videos would be accepted. You don't think in those terms. I mean, you don't get up every morning and say, okay, I'm going to try and be completely innovative and set a precedent. No, you don't do things like that.
Is this the real life? sea, caught in a landslide.
Now, the Bohemian Rhapsody video made quite an impact, but I suppose the best remembered Queen video really has to be I Want to Break Free, not least because it had the whole of the band and Freddie dressed in drag.
I think that's one of our best videos to date, really. In fact, it still makes me chuckle every time I see it, and I've seen it a lot of times, and I'm glad we did it. The funny thing is it's like, I must tell you, everybody thinks it probably was my idea because they think but it's not. It wasn't at all. I mean, something like that was the back of my mind. But if I'd approached the rest of the group, it would have been disbanded because it would have looked like, okay, I'm trying to dress them up in drag and all that, and because everybody thinks that's what I'm tuned to or whatever. But I like. So the funny thing is, the others came up with the idea, and I said, fine, I'll do it. And so it came to fruition. But I was shocked, actually, to think, my God, that they're expecting to actually dress up in drag. And I said, fine. Then I took the bull by the horns, and I just said, right, now we do it. Now we do it properly. And for the first time in our lives that we've actually taken the mickey out of ourselves, which is, I think in the early days, people regarded Queen as being very sort of very musical, very intelligent, and they just thought that we actually lacked humour. But we had humour on the stage shows, and our characters were then actually coming across. And I just thought, why don't we try and do that in a video? Because that sort of prey seed, and you know, in 3 minutes they can find that out. And then people were quite amazed at the fact that we could actually fool around and drag up and still be good musicians.
When you saw the final clip and you looked at it and you laughed as everybody did you think it was the kind of thing that would be accepted by the kind of person who doesn't normally accept that sort of pantomime dame approach?
No, it's like there's a big risk element involved with everything. I mean, since Bohemian Rhapsody, so we're not going to change. And I think our sort of staunchest fans are going to know that we can come with all kinds of ridiculous things, and some of them will work, some won't. And I think, you know, in terms of that, I mean, especially now, the rest of the group actually will take my view on this, and that we don't give a damn what we do, what we want to do, and it's either accepted or not.
There's a great quote about you. I think it was Roger's quote, you know. No, it was, if a thing's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
Exactly, yes, yeah. That's very true, yeah. But I mean, we didn't do that video and think, oh my God, it's not going to be accepted here or whatever. We just did it. And in fact, in terms of America, it wasn't accepted at all, because I mean, they still regard us as the heavy rockers and the macho and all that. And they said, what are my idols doing dressing up in frocks?
I want to break free.
So we paused for a moment. He had another vodka and tonic, and I had another glass of milk. And we stopped talking about Mercury, the solo artist, and Mercury, the band member, and turned the conversation round to another side of the career, working with other stars outside the Queen area.
There Must Be More to Life Than This was a song that I'd written a long time ago. And it was going to be on one of the Queen albums, and for some odd reason it just wasn't used because I'd written something else. And I remember that I think a couple of years now, and I was working with Michael Jackson, and we were trying to get some stuff together, and we still have unfinished works of art in the vaults, actually, and they haven't come to fruition. But this was one of the songs, well, because we haven't had time to actually sort of go back and finish them.
What attracts two totally separate people, I would have thought, into working together? Because you seem almost poles apart as individuals, not knowing Jackson himself.
Well, I guess you're right. I mean, I thought that's maybe that is the attraction. But I mean, in the early days, he used to sort of like Queen, and used to come and see all our concerts, and so we became friends. And he said, "Why don't we do something together?" This was just before the Thriller days, actually. And so I said, "Okay, we can. Why don't we try something together?" So it was just me and him, and I actually went over to his house and did about 3 or 4. Demos, you know, to see how they work out. But I did it in a very different way. I mean, it was the way he sang it is just so beautiful. I just said I have to put a different approach to it. So I put there was more orchestration and the way that I wanted to do it anyway. Maybe he could still sing it.